everybody. Happy Sunday. Happy everything. I hear myself automatically and I hear my voice slightly expected but unexpected. Full disclosure, I was choking on a sandwich not very long ago. Like straight up choking. It was one of those like, is this how I end type of thing. So obviously I'm fine. It's my own fault too. I've mentioned at some point in the past, I don't practice mindful eating anywhere near as much as I should. And it's just been an incredibly occupied week for me. And so I made a sandwich and I was pretty much trying to eat it just as fast as I made it. And spent more time choking than eating the thing. So everyone, chew properly before you consume, because that was a moment. So I totally hear my voice. May as well run with it anyway. Everything's great. It's such a great mood today. Honest to goodness, as a matter of fact, it is such a great day today. I would really like to share just some exciting things that have happened lately. I've made it very clear how I am doing the best that I can to advocate for trans inclusion in sports, and that is one of my main focuses. Of course, with that, and shortly before the year turned over, I got a piece of gratitude in the mail from time spent with an individual with liaison to Canada Games Council, as a matter of fact. So that was really cool. I got a neat little thermos. I'm not going to bother getting it, right? But it's this cool little red thermos and I love it. But what's neat out of that is you can pretty much buy a thermos wherever you want, whenever you want, right? But I got a nice card from that too, right? Which was so cool. So I wanted to share that the good things are happening when it comes to trans inclusion in sports. People do listen and people do work towards it. And with that too, I'm sure most of you who have been following along are aware that I've shared my time with Sport Manitoba as a volunteer on their Two-Spirit, Transgender, and Non-Binary Plus committee, as a voice with lived experience of a trans woman athlete. And even then, right, where we've been having a series of conversations and some fantastic progressive changes, myself even being included in motioning approvals for changes and everything too. It appears very soon that after just a little bit of bureaucracy, there's going to be some public representation of that as well from Sport Manitoba, which is massive. Of course, the ripple effect that will come from an organization of that size to show support and not just support, right, but practices of being inclusive for trans athletes and frankly trans individuals as a whole is one of my goals. It's a step towards one of my goals, I should say. One of my biggest goals personally is on the national stage to mandate inclusion across the board. But that is another conversation for another day. Speaking of conversations, let's get into Dwell On It. I've been having a great time continuing to go through the grab bag. I really appreciate the questions that have been sent my way. Please keep those questions coming and please continue to share this with your peers. If you haven't yet, don't hesitate to whatever platform it is you're seeing this on, right? Whether it's a like or a subscribe. Let's just keep this conversation going. It's fantastic. I love it, and I love everyone's participation with it too. So thank you so much. In a relationship, what would make you feel happier, sharing or sacrificing? I feel you can do both at the same time. I think that's pretty much what compromise can be. Nothing generally embodies happiness by the activity, but the result is where happiness can be found. Whether sharing or sacrificing, those to me feel more like tasks as what helps create a solution for the situation at hand. When it comes to something like sharing, if you have an abundance of something and you're able to provide it and give joy to another individual, right, and specifically according to the question, your partner, of course, sharing your abundance with your partner, the activity itself might not be happiness building, but the happiness that they have would then get reciprocated back upon you. That is where I find happiness in something like that. And same thing when it comes to the sacrificing. Again, I will use a perspective of being in a relationship as per the question. But if I had plans, for example, right, I had plans to go out to sing karaoke. Clearly not tonight, not with his voice, and not with COVID and whatever anyway, but you know what I mean. And she wasn't feeling well. And she says that it would mean a lot if I was able to stay back and just be available in case she needs help. By principle, I would be sacrificing plans that I had, but of course I would be happy to stay behind and be available to offer that assistance if she needs that. And this, again, assuming things are, in the perfect world type of thing. But then that also brings joy, that she would be happy and she would remember what I did for her. And that if I needed something like that in the future, then she would return a favor in whatever similar nature that it may be. Like I said, the activity itself isn't about happiness. It's the net gain. It's the purpose. It's the value of it. And when you're doing it because you're helping provide love, display love, be loving, those are all things to feel happy about. When you are able to care for a person you love and to show that person who you love that you care, that you will do something like share or sacrifice, those feel great. Is there anything that you wish you knew more about? Oh, that's open. Kitchen skills, unrelated to my sandwich, but I do like cooking in principle. I do like eating healthy. I do try to meal prep and so on, but I do find myself also being really inefficient in terms of time in the kitchen, and I definitely don't have the finesse factor where every chop is a coarse chop. I don't use like mindfulness when I eat, and I know I should. I know it's right to do that, to appreciate things like taste and texture and just the moment, right? To take yourself away from life and just enjoy, whether it's a sandwich or a full platter of food or whatever it would be. And I don't do that as much as I know that is right for me. And so to just general overall kitchen behavior, conduct, ethics, and then that's also including like knife skills, more effectively prepping vegetables or whatever it would be, and like lots of times even to cook without a recipe. I really do like to lean on recipes when I eat. It's fuel. It's less about art and experience and just food. Get the nutrients and the calories in me. Kind of don't care what it looks or tastes like, just get it in me so I can carry on with my day. And I really would like to reprogram how my entire kitchen / dining room experience goes. That would really take me places and give me an opportunity just to really appreciate something that is important in life more. That for sure is something that I'd like to know more about. Hindsight being what it is, after high school, like knowing now what I know, that it would have been great to go into culinary arts. Do you think celebrating Valentine's Day is corny? It's not corny. It's ineffective if that's the only day that you romanticize love. Pretty much. Love is a task. It is just as much a verb as it is a noun. And to isolate a specific day as the day to do something really nice for your significant other is really diminishing the importance of being loving effectively. If you use that day as like kind of like the cherry on top to a fantastic year of love and relationship values and so on, then no, it's cool. I don't find anything exciting specifically about Valentine's Day because you can do all of those fun and amazing things with your partner on any other day of the year also. What was the best advice that you received about how to transition? See, that's a really good question. I don't really remember off the top of my head of receiving advice about how to transition in terms of steps or anything like that. Seen passive information of about transitioning from a variety of ways, right? Whether it was stuff in person or whether it's online, like forums like Reddit and whatever too. So perhaps not the best advice from an individual, but I can even share with my own lived experience, and I could frame it in a way that is quite frequently echoed. First, accept yourself. Your transition is a process. It is not a procedure. It is fluid, and every step along the way and the decisions that you take are valid, just like you are valid for being in the process of transition too. When it comes to how to transition, as I mentioned, that the first thing is to accept yourself and realize that the decision you're making is valid. For myself, I went through trans healthcare at clinic in Winnipeg. Essentially, just I put my faith into their hands because they are experienced with trans individuals and a variety of trans individuals, and they certainly listen to the needs of every person individually, and they can also share feedback from experience from other individuals too. So to make sure that your experience is as optimal and also as authentic to you as possible too. That's the kind of like the best advice I would say that I've received. And as I mentioned, it was more in a passive way, not any like direct quote or anything like that from anybody. It's a slow ride. I won't say it's a fun ride, but it's a ride. But it is a ride well worth it. I've lived my best life every day since the day that I've accepted myself. And I don't know if there's any way that a piece of advice could be stronger than the moment you accept yourself is the moment you will finally understand what love is and feels like. That is such a fundamental value of transitioning, because you must love yourself before you even look at anything else. When I started transitioning, it was essentially from a position of desperation, because I knew that I couldn't continue to just live the life that I wasn't able to find happiness in. I was desperate to finally be me. And even though that I struggled to find joy in myself at the outset, reflecting in hindsight, remember that me making that phone call, me walking through the door the first time, me sitting down, me finally, saying hi to the social worker and then talking to the doctors and so on. And those steps, even though that I was so shelled up, so walled up, so guarded, so frustrated about why do I need to be here, the fact that I took myself there and got to that point was me telling myself that I deserve me. And if that's not a sign of self-love, I don't know what is. So remember those things. By showing yourself self-love, you will have the best transition of your life. If I could share a piece of advice that I haven't received, but I'd like to just provide it, everything that you expect from what you see from others, throw it out the window. Every single person is unique. Every single person is valid. Every single experience is valid. Not every single person is going to have the exact same life experience. And so comparing notes between what one person experiences and yourself, you're not doing yourself a favor. Live your life. Don't live your life in the model of someone else. Please. You will be happier that way. I don't promise many things, but I promise you that you will be happier that way when you live your life, not the life you hope to find from someone else's experience. Guaranteed. How can I learn as much as possible about a transgender person without being offensive? That's an awesome question. So that's phrased in a way that is excellent. So that's a good start. I would recommend two things. Number one, expecting to have a dialogue that is a one-size-fits-all and won't offend anybody sort of model, not happening. Don't overthink the idea of cans and can'ts. There are absolutely taboo can'ts, and a lot of the cans still aren't always entirely can, depending on who you're speaking to. Put that in perspective. But there still is a way to have mindful dialogue without making it overtly offensive. For sure, right? Because as I mentioned, that different people react to different things in different ways. So trying to like sweep the entire spectrum of individuals across the board, not happening. So just save yourself that challenge right there. And then always be open to learning. And even honestly, you can introduce your conversation with, I'm doing my best to learn to speak to people without being offensive. And I understand that there is a very fluid and dynamic community where it's not really possible to not offend someone. So, can you please help guide me as to what doesn't offend you? If that was going to be on a one-to-one type of conversation, is how I would advise that. Because I'm interpreting the question as you would like to inquire from an individual of, about themselves. Because then otherwise, if I'm thinking you're just Googling to learn about trans individuals, then be mindful about the websites you're Googling too. Because there are many websites that are slanted towards very transphobic beliefs that present themselves as trans supportive communities, and we can look at things like trans medicalists, for example. True scum is a popular phrase. So I don't really like the word, but still, to find opinions and beliefs from trans individuals, or even allies. They feel that a person's authenticity, if they're trans or not, is directly related to the amount of dysphoria that they feel. And so they're essentially gatekeeping. That is incredibly offensive to trans individuals, because sure, in principle, you are supporting the beliefs of some, but you're also then accepting and adopting the practices of exclusion, which is very transphobic. So I hope that kind of answers that question on both ways that I'm interpreting it to be asked. Like I said, don't expect a one-size-fits-all solution, and don't hesitate to be humble about, I don't want to make a mistake. Please help correct me, and if you can help educate, I'd be more than willing to accept that and practice it further. I can use my own personal experience, even with personal friends and whatnot. I make it very clear, it's just within my own network, and even when, whether I'm advocating or if I'm part of a committee or something like that, when we do talk about, if there's any housekeeping to just be clear of about, things to say, things to not say, and so on, I make it clear that I'm really transparent, and I also have no problem hearing a question that could be phrased, for example, in a way that would be considered offensive, and then I would have no problem answering the question and then also helping coach how to reframe that type of question too. No surprise that people were more than happy to keep asking me about my bits and pieces, and I would make it very clear that it's like, I will answer this question because you guys know I can answer this question, but we don't just talk about this. We don't just ask any trans individual about their pants, and more specifically, what's in their pants. We don't do that because you don't do that for anyone else. I make it clear where we don't do these things. I'll respect your question because I know what you're trying to ask, and I respect your curiosity. Do not do this anywhere else because you're going to hurt somebody someday, and so be clear about that. And again, that, like I mentioned, like that's with people who I know, or if there's a reason with, if there's some random like Joe Lunchbox, you're not getting the time of day, like, to follow up on that. It's not like I just talk about it anyway, but if it was to be like I mentioned, Joe Lunchbox acting, be like, so we don't talk about that, right? And I'm not going to answer your question because we don't talk about that. And it's going to stay that way. What is your dream home, car, family, and job? Do you know what this reminds me of? MASH. So my dream home, I've always said just like Little House, White Picket Fence, right? Just simple, sustainable type of stuff. I don't really envision anything too elaborate. If I was to say a dream home, I would like it to be large enough to support a family comfortably, but not so large where it's obnoxious to sweep and vacuum, or have an obnoxiously large yard to have to maintain or whatever, but large enough to, considering, all things considered, I would imagine that it would be right to be large enough for, whether there was kids or pets or something like that. So just, a place with space. Like I was alluding to earlier about the kitchen, I've always enjoyed like those like the prepped kitchens that you find on like cooking shows and whatever, and I would love to have something like that. And then if I was also to have a room in the home, I would love to be able to have a room that would be pretty much a fitness center, and it doesn't need to be super high end or anything like that, but where I could comfortably fit my cardio machines, my weight bench, my Bowflex, space for free weights, space to do yoga, just a nice comfortable area that would literally be for fitness, and then also a place for entertainment. I do have a past life with audio video sales and installation, and I always do have a bias towards a very nice like home theater system. It does make a difference when you're watching TV or playing video games or watching a movie or whatever, and same thing with music. So like if I had a home, those are 3 rooms that I would like to see specific for that, not kind of crammed into and be made a solution of, and then everything else is just living space. Large enough so that, as you mentioned, that it would consciously be able to fit a family, and not too much more, right? Like it doesn't need to be like a Home Alone style, like 19-bedroom house or whatever that monster of a building was, but that's what I would look at the most. Dream car. I've always been a Mustang fan, right? Even when I was younger, I had a 1978 Mustang, the best of the worst generation. But I loved it, and I wish in hindsight that I knew as much about cars and whatnot as I do today, because man, that thing would have been in a much better condition. But what was I, 18 or 19 at the time, so that'll happen. Mustang would certainly be up there. And nowadays I drive a Mazda CX-5. I love the crossover type of vehicle too. I've always been just familiar with like sport compacts, right? Whether it was Ford Escort or Mazda 3. I even had a Chevette. I had a Fiero, right? So I was always so used to the smaller cars, and it just got to a point where, especially after playing lots of sports, or especially when I'd be playing hockey, I got really tired of pouring myself out of my vehicle, especially with like goalie equipment and everything. Yeah, I kind of need a bigger vehicle. And even then, when it comes to a larger vehicle, just again the consciousness of nicer to move like a family around or whatnot too. So that's my dream car, typically a Mustang, right? But I would certainly enjoy just a really good quality crossover. I haven't really paid too much to the car scene lately, and a lot of it is just like I have no need to look or care, but something in those neighborhoods would stand out to me. Family, well, I've never dreamt about a certain type of family. If anything, it was just more about love, right? Just find the right person and make it work with her. I would expect at this point that she would very likely have kids, and I'm prepared to do the best that I can to help support that family as much as possible. That's all I can really do. I couldn't imagine who I would want in a partner or how many kids I would ever want. And that said, like I mentioned, it's like I've never dreamt of having kids on my own, so it's never really been something I've ever thought about. I just want a successful relationship with somebody who loves me, who I love too. Right, and then whatever happens from that happens. Dream job, I'm happy with what I'm doing. I'm a data analyst. I do have a passion for advocacy as well. I've never really dreamt to do anything as a job, especially as of late. I've worked ever since I got out of high school. I worked, and I've with what I do currently, I'm very happy with it. I've been working at this place for about 10 and a half years now. I'm happy with what I do. I continue challenging myself, and I continue learning with that as well. But what's funny is, like, even when I was younger, I always wanted to be an athlete. And it'd be funny, in high school I'd be trying to figure out where like athlete was in like the jobs that you can look for, or like the different type of career paths or whatever out of university. I'd be trying to find athlete in there, and honestly, even with that too, where I really actually wanted to go into wrestling when I was younger too, and I never chased it because I didn't feel I was supported. So that would have been kind of cool, because that really matches my type of personality, especially when it comes to like cutting promos and whatnot. I have actually been in the ring in the past, and that was really fun, but that was quite a while ago. I definitely wouldn't call it anything like glory days or anything like that, but those were things that I wanted to do when I was younger. Now I'm comfortable, I'm happy. That's it, I'm gonna wrap up. Thank you so much for hanging in there. Thank you so much for coming along with me for this episode. I hope you enjoyed the questions and the answers. Burned through a lot of them today too, which is really fun. I want to encourage you, please like, share, subscribe, whatever it is, on whatever platform that you happen to be watching this on. Absolutely love seeing the reach continue. I would certainly love to be able to reach more people with this series and help share lived experience of a trans woman for others who would like to know what a day in the life is like. Check the link below. Again, there's an action page regarding ending abuse and systemic oppression towards 2S LGBTQIA plus individuals. Please take less than a minute, literally less than a minute, to hit that link, name, email address, postal code, hit send. Everything's already set up to go, and you will share a message of a demand for change to your elected officials in your area. And even with that, it will still go to the mayors of Winnipeg and Toronto, regardless where you live. So please hop in there. Please share that as well with your network, so we can make sure that it's understood that systemic change is absolutely imperative to put an end to systemic oppression. Thank you so much, and I hope everyone has a great rest of your night. I hope everyone has a great rest of your week, and I am looking forward to seeing what's next in the grab bag next Sunday. Have a good night.